The first time Victoria Lang called me the janitor dad, my daughter was standing beside the piano with her school backpack still on. It happened in the lobby of Langford Hall, the old music conservatory downtown, during a donor reception filled with crystal glasses, black suits, and people who spoke about art as if they owned it. I was kneeling by the marble floor, tightening a loose brass plate on the base of the grand piano. My daughter Lily was 10. She had come straight from school because our neighbor could not pick her up that afternoon, and I had promised she could sit quietly in the corner with her homework until my shift ended. Victoria Lang entered with the board chairman behind her. She was 38, polished, wealthy, and about to sell Langford Hall's historic concert building to a hotel group for $270 million. She looked at my work shirt, then at Lily, then at the piano, and she said, "Why is the janitor dad touching my father's piano?" The room did not laugh. That was worse. Rich people rarely laugh when they want someone to disappear. They only look away. Lily lowered her eyes to the music book in her hands. That was the part I remembered. Not the insult. Not the way the chairman smirked. Not the security guard stepping closer. I remembered my little girl hiding the book against her chest, like music itself had become something she was not allowed to hold. I stood slowly. "It is not your father's piano," I said. Victoria turned back. "Excuse me?" "It belonged to the hall before your father ever signed a check." Her face hardened. The chairman, Grant Bellamy, stepped forward. "Mr. Carter, I believe your shift ends at 6. I looked at him. "My shift ends when the West practice rooms stop flooding and the Steinway legs are secure." Victoria gave a short breath through her nose. "You know a lot for a janitor," Lily whispered. "Dad, don't." But I had already seen the small brass plate under the piano, the one Victoria had never noticed, the one no donor on that floor had ever bent low enough to read. "In memory of Evelyn Carter, teacher, composer, founder of the Langford Children's Scholarship." My wife. "My name is Nathan Carter. I am 42 years old. I am a single father. I clean floors, fix pipes, carry chairs, tune old locks, and repair anything Langford Hall is too broke to replace. At least, that is what most people think I do. Before my wife died, I was not the maintenance man. I was Langford Hall's youngest program director. My wife, Evelyn, taught piano to children whose parents could not afford lessons. She believed talent did not care about zip codes, and neither should anyone else. Every Saturday, she filled the West practice rooms with kids who came in with second-hand shoes and left believing they had a right to make beautiful sounds. Lily was 5 when Evelyn got sick. Cancer. Too fast. Too cruel. Too quiet at the end. After the funeral, I could not sit inside the recital hall without hearing her laugh. I stepped down from the program. I asked for maintenance work because I needed to stay near the place she loved, but far enough from the music that it would not break me every day. The director at the time understood. Victoria's father understood too. Before he died, he signed a trust amendment. 15% of Langford Hall's voting rights were placed into the Evelyn Carter Scholarship Trust. The proxy belonged to me until Lily turned 25. I never used it. I did not want a board seat. I did not want power. I wanted my daughter to grow up without hearing adults fight over her mother's name. Then Grant Bellamy decided to sell the hall. He called it a rescue. He said the hotel group would preserve the exterior and honor the cultural history. That meant the practice rooms would become luxury suites. The recital hall would become an event space. The scholarship children would be moved to an online program nobody would fund after the first year. Grant had hidden that detail deep in the sale packet. I knew, because the old accountant, Mrs. Doyle, had left a folder in my toolbox 2 nights earlier. Inside were budget cuts, private emails, and one line that made my hands go cold. Carter Trust unlikely to object if beneficiary remains uninformed until closing. Grant knew. Victoria did not. That afternoon, after she called me the janitor dad, I walked Lily to the back hall. She said nothing for a long time. Then she asked, "Was Mom really on that piano?" "Yes." "Did that woman know?" "No." "Are you going to tell her?" I looked back at the lobby doors. "Not yet." "Why?" "Because grown men like Grant Bellamy build traps out of timing. Because if I spoke too early, he would make it look like grief. Because the vote was in the morning." But I did not say that to Lily. I only said, because truth works better when it has all its papers. That night, I opened the box under Evelyn's old sheet music cabinet. Lily sat beside me on the floor. Inside were trust documents, scholarship records, board letters, and Evelyn's original handwritten charter for the children's program. At the bottom was a note in her handwriting. "Nathan, if they ever try to turn the hall into something children cannot enter, remind them who the doors were built for." Lily read it twice. Then she said, "Mom sounds mad." I smiled for the first time all day. She could be. The next morning, I walked into the board meeting wearing the same work jacket. Grant looked at me as if I had tracked mud across his table. "This meeting is closed." I placed the trust document in front of him. "Not to 15%. Victoria sat at the head of the table. Her eyes moved from the document to my face. "What is this?" Grant said quickly. "A legacy technicality." I looked at him. "No, it is my wife's scholarship trust." The room changed. Victoria went still. "Evelyn Carter was your wife?" "Yes." Her voice dropped. "My father talked about her." "He should have. She built the program your sale erases." Grant stood. "That is an emotional distortion." Mrs. Doyle, the old accountant, stood from the corner and placed a second folder on the table. "No," she said. "This is the sales schedule Grant hid from the board." Inside were the hotel group's renovation plans. The practice rooms converted to suites. The scholarship budget terminated after 12 months. The piano relocated as lobby decor. Victoria read the pages slowly. Her face changed with each one. Grant said, "Victoria, every historic property sale requires compromise." She looked up. "You told me the scholarship program would continue." "It will, digitally." Lily, who had been waiting outside with Mrs. Doyle's assistant, appeared in the doorway. She had Evelyn's music book in both hands. "Can poor kids learn piano on a laptop?" she asked. No one answered. That silence did what my anger could not. It made the room honest. Victoria looked at Lily, then at me, then at the piano visible through the glass wall of the conference room. "What do you want, Mr. Carter?" I could have said revenge. I could have asked for Grant's job. I could have enjoyed the moment. But Evelyn's note was in my pocket. So, I said, I want the vote paused. I want every board member to read what is really being sold. and I want the scholarship protected in writing before anyone calls this place saved." Grant laughed once. "You do not have the numbers." I looked at Victoria. "No, but she does." For the first time since I had known her, Victoria Lang did not look certain. She looked young. Tired. Like someone suddenly standing in the shadow of a father whose name had been used to hide things from her. She closed the sale packet. "The vote is paused." Grant's face went red. "You cannot do that. I am chair of this board. And I am the one who kept this institution solvent." "No," Mrs. Doyle said. "Evelyn Carter's program kept this institution human." Nobody moved. Grant packed his papers and left the room. But he was not finished. By noon, a local business blog published a story. Maintenance worker uses dead wife's name to block $270 million rescue sale. Victoria called me at 2. Her voice was quiet. "I did not leak that." "I know." "Does Lily know?" I looked across the kitchen. Lily sat at the table, staring at her mother's music book. "Yes." There was a long silence. Then Victoria said, "I am sorry." "Do not apologize on the phone." At 5, she came to my house. No driver. No assistant. Just Victoria Lang standing on my porch in the rain with a paper bag from the diner and a face that had lost its polish. Lily opened the door. Victoria looked at her. "I was cruel to your father yesterday." Lily said nothing. Victoria continued. "I also spoke about a piano I did not understand. I am sorry." Lily looked at the bag. "Is that dinner?" "Yes." "Then you can come in." We ate soup at my small kitchen table while rain tapped the windows. Victoria asked Lily about school. Lily answered carefully at first. Then, somehow, they started talking about music. Victoria admitted she had stopped playing piano after her father died because every wrong note felt like disappointing him. Lily looked at her and said, "My dad stopped listening after Mom died. I nearly dropped my spoon." Victoria looked at me. I looked at the table. Children have no respect for the walls adults build. The next morning, Victoria called an emergency board session in the recital hall. Not the conference room, the recital hall. She made every board member sit in the seats where scholarship children performed. Then she asked Lily to play. Lily froze. I stood to stop it, but Lily shook her head. She walked to the piano. The same piano. Evelyn's piano. She opened the music book and played the first piece her mother had taught her. Her hands trembled at first. Then the room changed. The notes were not perfect. That made them better. They sounded like a child reaching for someone she missed and finding, for a few minutes, that the distance was not as far as she feared. When she finished, nobody clapped immediately. They were too ashamed. Then Victoria stood. She placed 3 documents on the music stand. The hidden hotel plan, Grant's email about delaying notice to the Carter Trust, and a revised protection agreement. The scholarship would be permanently funded. The West practice rooms would be preserved. The recital hall could not be converted without unanimous trust approval. Langford Hall would remain a school before it was anything else. Then she looked at me. "Mr. Carter, will the Evelyn Carter Trust support this?" I looked at Lily. She was still sitting at the piano bench, her hands folded in her lap. "Yes," I said. "It will." The board voted. Grant opposed it. only Grant. By the end of the week, he resigned. The hotel group withdrew. A preservation donor stepped forward after the story changed from scandal to legacy. Langford Hall was not rich. Not suddenly. Not magically. But it was safe. And sometimes safe is enough to begin again. 3 months later, the West practice rooms reopened. Fresh paint. Repaired floors. Old pianos tuned instead of thrown away. A new brass sign hung by the entrance. The Evelyn Carter Children's Scholarship Wing. Lily stood in front of it wearing a blue dress and shoes she hated. Victoria stood beside her, holding scissors for the ribbon. She offered them to me. I shook my head. To Lily. Lily cut the ribbon. The room filled with children. Not donors. Not executives. Children. They ran to the benches, touched the keys, whispered to each other, and made the kind of noise adults spend too much time correcting. I heard Evelyn in all of it. After the ceremony, Victoria found me alone by the piano. I called you the janitor dad, she said. Yes. I was wrong. Yes. She smiled slightly. You do not make forgiveness easy. It is not supposed to be easy. No, she said. I suppose not. Lily came over and slipped her hand into mine. Then, after a moment, she took Victoria's hand, too. None of us said anything. We just stood there beside the piano with Evelyn's name on it and listened to the practice rooms fill with music again. That night, after Lily fell asleep, I sat in the recital hall alone. For years, I had cleaned that stage after everyone left. I had swept around the piano, fixed the lights, tightened the loose brass plate, stayed close enough to the music to protect it and far enough away to survive it. But grief is not survival forever. Sometimes it is only a hallway. A long one. Dark one. But still a hallway. At the end, if you keep walking, there may be a room full of children playing badly and beautifully on old pianos. There may be your daughter, brave enough to play what you could not bear to hear. There may be someone who once looked down on you standing quietly beside the door, learning how to see. So if anyone ever calls you small because your hands are dirty, because your jacket is worn, because your job looks simple from far away, let them. They may not know whose name you are carrying. They may not know what trust you hold. They may not know that the building they are selling still remembers the people who made it matter. And when the time comes, you do not have to shout. You only have to place the right paper on the table, let the truth play its note, and watch the room finally listen.